Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm continuing the OP type series and we're talking about the ENTPs today. I'm going to look at the standard and the jumper type. Standard is having the savior functions of NE and then TI as the second function. And then the jumper type is NE and FE, jumping that introverted thinking and using the extroverted decision maker to make decisions. I've got a visual aid here, just kind of showing those two types, what that looks like. So the S's are showing the saviors and then the demons. So your standard ENTP is kind of a balance between extroversion and introversion. It's kind of your standard extrovert. This type down here is more extroverted, as in they are more focused on extroverted things in order to make a decision. They both dominantly are focused on extroverted intuition as that dominant process, which makes them constantly go outside of themselves to gather new information. And specifically, they're gathering intuitive information. ENTP's dominant process is noticing patterns in the information around them in real time, all of the time, always seeing the connections, the predictions, the assumptions, the guesses, the simulating possibilities, brainstorming on what things could be pretty constantly. That is the state they like to be in the most. That's where they feel the most themselves, is to be somewhat simulating possibilities. They have this in common with the ENFP as well. They both lead with this function. They're both considered gathering types. ENTPs, they are dominantly novelty seekers, but in this kind of way. It's different from the extroverted sensors, are more just like experiences, literally jumping into something physical that's new. These intuitive minds are a bit different. They are looking for new ways of seeing things, new perspectives, new abstract connections between things, and kind of reading behind the scenes, reading between the lines on what's going on in any given moment. And it's kind of like a web of connections that is ever present with them. And they're seeing what things could mean, what things could represent, and plugging new things into their web as they interact with new information. They're very in their minds in that way. They're in their imagination, they're in their minds, and are more in tune with that than they are in their body sensations, that introverted sensing as their inferior function. They can sometimes forget their body. They can kind of forget routines, or not be prone to wanting to live a very routine life. That's kind of the weakness, in a sense, or growth point, is to be in tune with the routines it takes to get things done, to be on track in their life. That's kind of the swing between the dominant process and the inferior process. So the jumper type and the standard type both have that in common, that first function and fourth function sort of imbalance, I would say, a starting imbalance that they can work on to kind of get more control of their life. That's kind of where growth comes from for them. That, EP types kind of have a an aversion to being controlled, in a sense, and gaining control over your own life and having self-control in like your inferior process kind of helps you not be controlled by the world around you if you can learn self-control in the area that you have a tendency to overlook. That is something that they both have in common. And then to look in their other functions. So TI is a secondary process of the standard ENTP type. This is a savior for them. So they're going to their own personal reasons, their personal understandings of things, their personal truth. They're individualistic thinkers. They're thinking through what makes sense to them, what are their personal reasons for any given thing, and then making a decision and orienting their life around that as the primary decision maker. So again, this is showing this is the chosen intuition for the ENTP. I mean, chosen observer, and then the chosen decider for the standard type. And so yeah, TI is, again, it's their own reasoning. It's what makes sense for them. They are in touch with their own identity in that sense. It's what is personal for them. What is meaningful. I sometimes attribute the word meaningful to introverted feeling instead of introverted thinking, but it is what actually matters to them. It is the reasons, the logic, and what makes sense for them is what they're navigating life with. And then as a third process, they have the extroverted feeling. And this is them being in tune with the values of the people around them. Your ENTP, this is something that's true about them. They can see where other people are falling on a spectrum. They can see what people value, what people care about, what they like, what they dislike. And they have a tendency to want to be accommodating of that, and to, and being aware of that, to not ruffle feathers too much, but, being a savior TI person, they're more inclined to stay true to this at the expense of this. But they're aware. It's those things in the middle. This is a dominant observer type, so there's that double deciding in the middle. And your standard type, has TI, but it's there. They do have the gift of seeing both sides of the self and the tribe pretty well. And then the last process is that introverted sensing. It's the memory of the details, it's routines, it's the sensations of the body. It's all of those things of what is like that chosen experiences that are significant. And a stronger, when this is higher up, it's like that associative memory, having nostalgia and liking to relive past experiences. This being in an inferior place for the ENTP, they're not all that tethered to it. It's there, they see it, but they choose to bounce back off into the new concepts. Going out and to have new experiences. Your EP types have this in common, that they like to keep things open. They like to be able to be free to explore, to gather more in. They don't like being tied down. They like having options. And, they'll get a routine going, but the routine can feel boring. It can feel confining, and they'll break out of it again in favor of gathering instead of organizing. But yeah, that SI function is just like tracking and tracking all of the details of your life. And the more you do that, the freer you'll be as an ENTP to really have that full picture of your whole self, and not have this come up and catch you one day because you haven't been paying attention to it. It's kind of the thing about it. It's how the demons kind of work, where you put, save your energy. This comes very natural. These other ones kind of pop up on you from, not looking at them as much. But that's kind of a picture of what the standard ENTP is like. And then down here, let's look at our the jumper type. So your jumper has savior extroverted functions. Both of the extrovert parts of them is what comes more natural to live out here. And this is a little more foreign to them in comparison. So again, that extroverted intuition is a savior for any ENTP. But that extroverted feeling here, they check in with the tribe more often. They make decisions based on what other people value, and accommodating the tribe, and are less in touch with their personal reasons, their personal ways of doing things, their personal beliefs, their personal truths. They don't explore this as much because they're spending their time out here in the extroverted world a lot more, and have an awareness of these types of things, which will make them a more extroverted type, because they're not having that downtime to really find out their own individual truths, but more so what the society, the group, the family, the tribe community that they're in, and just being in the know about everybody else. This would make them more of like a EJ sort of version of an ENTP. And so they'd have just they take more notice of the feelings of other people, the values of other people, what would bother, what would offend, and not really, insert their TI to create disruptions over here as often, or just this feels more natural to stay in this sort of place. So again, I don't preface these or present these as though you should never head over here because you're this. I don't look at typology as an excuse to not grow. But more so in becoming self-aware, you can see what you're doing, and you can kind of be more conscious about what you're doing, and then decide what you want to do next. Really, what's growth for you? Where are you trying to develop and get more balance? Or how is that affecting your life? Is that working out for you? Is that a good thing? Or should you spend more time here, understand what really matters to you personally, so that you can serve the right communities based on your actual belief system. And maybe you're over here being aware of everybody else's values, everybody else's likes and dislikes, and don't really know what is actually your truth. So that's a bit of a comparison. Just essentially, you've got these double decider types leaning on one of the decision makers as a savior, leaving the other one as a demon. What else can I say about the ENTP? I really like ENTPs. A lot of my favorite people are ENTPs, and I think they have really incredible minds, and yeah, I love conversation with them, with all the webs of different connections that they're noticing and all kinds of things. It's very normal to them to be just seeing the connections and everything, and kind of exploring that. And I guess a growth thing for them is to, really pick something and stick through on a path. I wouldn't say a path because it sounds kind of NI, but like to be grounded in their body, to be grounded in all of the details that it takes to walk forward, to do whatever they've set out to do, to accomplish their goals. It takes a lot of detail. And that's kind of around they're not in that much, that SI detail, the memory of all these different things. The more that they can expand and experience more things, the more connections they can see between all the different things they've experienced. So it is positive for them to get some real world, tangible experience, and not just live in the conceptual aspects of life, but to really get, I guess the best way to say, like, life experiences become SI memories that you have, impressions that stick with you, details and stuff. The more experiences you really take in, the more connections you can make between all the things you've experienced. And then you can theorize and simulate even more things from there. But yeah, I guess to get more into extroverted intuition, like the simulating, and they're seeing lots of paths. They're seeing they could do this, they could do this, they could do this, they could do this. This could play out this way. They're able to run simulations of the future of how things would play out based on looking at their SI details that they've retained throughout life. So yes, the more details, the better their simulations, the better their predictions, the better their intuitive leaps become real, like useful things to them that are accurate and not based on something real, of pure concepts or pure abstractions. Yeah, so it's like they have all the tools in their belt that they need. We just, as humans, have a tendency to lean on just a couple and not the others. So I highly believe in getting balanced, in that it's like it's accessing the whole self in a sense. So yeah, these are their functions. They're beautiful. What else can I say? Something I like to add about extroverted feelers. Extroverted feelers do really well when they process their emotions out loud and get to talk to somebody. ENTPs are extroverted feelers, so they get really incredible value out of being able to do that, to express their emotions, to talk with people. That is something that helps them a lot, as well. I'm an ESTP, so I have that same third slot extroverted feeling. This jumper type is probably doing that more often because they're checking in and getting validation from the tribe because they're more validation seeking. In order to make decisions, they need feedback in a sense. Your TI person is going, up here is more inside, analyzing, going through their own stuff, coming to their own conclusions, living by it, don't have to really express it necessarily. They just live by it, So this type down here is checking in with the tribe a lot more in order to move forward, in order to make a decision. So yeah, bit of a contrast there. But yeah, the types aren't extremely different. This is the way that, there are two types of ENTPs. And just to kind of go, I guess the growth still, they have that same demon. It's just looking at that middle change. But yeah, personal growth for the ENTP could be to express themselves more, the standard one, express themselves more, share more with the tribe, get in touch with other people, see the whole spectrum, and not just their own thoughts and their own exploration. Yeah, kind of find ways to take what is their like area of understanding to be of benefit to the tribe and to get a good view of who is around them a bit more than just their individualism and their, staying true to themselves in that way. So yeah, your standard type can grow from getting more acquainted with the tribe, and this type can grow, our jumper, by actually being selfish per se. I use that term lightly, but to consider the self and not just the collective around them, so that they can be more grounded within themselves, within their own identity, and walk out a path that is actually, in alignment with who they are, and not solely just serving other people, and being so involved in the extroverted spectrum of life that they're not at rest in themselves, in their own, what is, I keep wanting to say meaningful, but I guess, yeah, what is meaningful to you? What is your truth, to spend time developing that. What about just, I'm kind of thinking of some last things. So just ENTPs in general, they're very creative people. They're creative thinkers. They have very active minds. They are, they want to keep their options open. I've heard someone kind of say it as though like they have an out for everything in a sense. Like they're thinking through how to stay free, how to not get tied down. The EPs kind of have that in common of not, commitments can be kind of hard. That it is a growth to be able to do that, more. But yeah, staying free of control, staying available for the whims of the moment, of the things that they want to get into, and to not overcommit themselves to things they don't really want to be committed to. That's something that is just a thing there, for ENTPs, ENFPs, ESTPs, ESFPs kind of have that in common. And yeah, so I guess personal growth or just good life path stuff is like the more you get in touch with what really is meaningful, then the things you start committing to are really things you want to be a part of, you want to be doing. And then to follow through on the details it takes to really walk that out all the way, and to stay committed to your routines that get you to where you want to be, that, help you to take care of your body as you live in that conceptual realm. You're not abandoning your health. The kind of paranoia that can pop up if ENTPs are stressed is they can like start noticing all the body sensations that they've kind of been out of tune with, that's not the state they're normally in. They start noticing and getting paranoid, thinking they're getting sick, thinking, oh, I have this disease. And there's some aspects of, if you're out of touch with your body for a long time, you really could have not been noticing what you're eating, and it's really starting to affect your health. And yeah, so they can be like a swing about it, and noticing like, whoa, I haven't been paying attention to this, is something common for ENTPs and ENFPs with that inferior introverted sensing. There is, sorry, I got something on the lip. There is like that body awareness that's there, as in that introverted process or that inferior process. You still have access to your introverted sensing, but I think it goes back to being a dominant function of having extroverted intuition being your first process. You see the world through that lens, through your first function primarily. And having that, having the driver in the driver's seat and has the will, that makes that last process easy to be interpreted as something negative that's kind of holding you back or something. And there's that war. Your dominant choice is to want to live in a different state than having to be in tune with your body all of the time, attuned with tracking all of the details and staying on top of your routine and tracking whatever it takes in whatever you're in, if it's your profession or you're watching your health or just your relationships, the details of your commitments. Like, oh, I told somebody I would be there at 4 and I didn't remember I told them. And then now I'm not there for the appointment or something like that. Like the details of your life is all of those things. The more you can take control or responsibility, I guess, for that introverted sensing process, the more it doesn't rile up and kind of surprise you in some moment, because you've got it covered too, and it keeps you free. Yeah, that inferior process can, if not paid attention to, can be the very thing causing you to feel controlled if you don't use self-control over that area to keep your commitments down to what really serves how you really want to live, which is that extroverted intuition, and to be more free, to be more open. And so yeah, it's a balance. I struggle with this in my own life in other ways, to keep my commitments to a true place so that my commitments don't bother me, because I've started to commit to things that actually fit my identity, fit where I'm going, fits the causes I want to serve, in that extroverted feeling, and seeing the tribe that I want to impact. That all these functions layer up together, and that they're not fighting each other. That it shouldn't be that FE is fighting TI all of the time and SI is fighting NE. That there is a balance as you start to kind of honor each one of them and see where you've overused one, and you can get balanced. And again, just going back to the kind of overall picture, we all start with a different starting place based on what are saviors and what are demons. Kind of shows where you lean and where you need to kind of lean the other way and strengthen these areas. So there's balance, that you ring in NE enough that it moves at the pace of SI2, and that these start to work together, and one way isn't better than the other is the first thing I would just kind of want to emphasize. In being a jumper type, that's what you are. You're a jumper type. It's just you'll also, I guess, on the positive, you add something different to the world around you. You have a stronger gifting in this area. Your awareness is much stronger than, say, your FE awareness is stronger than up here. And that's a beautiful thing. So I don't want to say that what your saviors are a bad thing. It also shows where your deficits are. And yeah, they'll becoming a wholer person as an individual is a good thing. I have people in my life that have totally different functions, and that's amazing to bring that in. But I do think the functions that you have, you can get a better hold on the full picture of who you are. Because those are your active four functions. They're not totally unconscious. They can feel like they are unconscious, but there's ways to feed your unconscious and to help things start to change for you, that what is unconscious isn't holding you back, that it all can work together. So I guess that is a pretty good like overview. I would say brief. It's probably not brief anymore. It's kind of long, but a good overview of the ENTP type. You guys are amazing, and keep being you, and yeah, see where you fall in the spectrum and learn to grow in the areas you haven't been paying attention to, and jump into the cognitive functions series as well to kind of get a deeper understanding of all of these functions. But yeah, that is a brief overview of the ENTP. If you got value out of this, go and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. And for future content, and if this is something that you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe below. I'll keep rolling out more videos on the other OP types and breaking this stuff down. And yeah, just continuing on. So, all right, guys, that is it. I will see you guys on the next one. All right, take care.